have arrived at developing timekeeping, lesson module 4, and this is called lineup exercises. And the term lineup is something that I came up with a while back during my first book, the Drum Set Crash Course. And what I was referring to was that when we're playing 2, 3, and 4 limb grooves and patterns, that we are responsible for all of those limbs hitting the multiple instruments at exactly the same time. Now, having done quite a few recordings, this is what stands out very quickly in guys who record and guys who don't record. There's a sloppiness to it. It's technically making a flam, I guess, where you're doing this kind of thing rather than exactly spot on with the different instruments, so you're only hearing one note. What's interesting about this, there's a couple things. The first is, from a timekeeping perspective, there's a solidity that happens when things land at the same time. It's caused by, first off, the precision of time, and second off, it's creating a different tone, okay? This ride cymbal tone is different. It's a different tone when there's a bass drum added to it, okay? The combination of those two sounds are creating a new tone. When the bass drum and kick drum pop at the same time exactly, there's a different tone created and there's a solidity created out of it. Any of you who have done a lot of recordings would know when the bass guitar and the bass drum are really on and hitting each other, there's a real solid punch that's happening out of the track. You can feel it, and you know, like, yeah, now we're both in the pocket. We can really feel this thing kicking in. So that's why we're discussing this in the developing to timekeeping lessons rather than in maybe a techniques lesson. One of the exercises that I use to work on this is basically 4 beats, 1 measure, and it's a simple pattern. And I play like a 1 and 2 and for the beginning of the beat, and then for the beginning of the measure. Then the rest of the measure is all straight eighth notes, and with either 2 limbs lining up or all 3 limbs lining up. So it's beat and line up, beat, line up, that kind of thing. So let me demonstrate that now really quick. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 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 2, 3 and 4 and 1. So I'm breaking it up a little bit. Sometimes I'll do hi-hat snare, snare bass drum, all 3, things like that. Seems pretty simple right now, but when you start going quicker, it can get difficult. Remember, every single thing that we're doing needs to line up. So that means if we're in the 16th note pattern and we got ghost notes here, and we got something busy happening over here on the ride cymbal, and something busy happening on the bass drum, all this stuff has to line up exactly spot on. And these are the dangers of playing busy, and that's why a lot of guys say, keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple. It's not that you have to play simple. It's not that playing complicated or busy is wrong. It just opens up a lot of issues for you, from lining up things to rushing things to things not being spot on in the pocket. I see a lot of guys play that have a lot of chops, but the chops are a mess. They're a mess. They're rushing, they're dragging, they're missing one. Things aren't lining up, there's flams all over the place, and at the end of the day, in the real music business, none of that stuff can happen. 0. So it's all got to be spot on, and there's just no room for error like that. I mean, it's fine on YouTube, but when we're talking about making records and movies and things, it doesn't fly. This is the stuff we got to work on, keeping these things lined up, sounding tight, and sounding very clean. Let me give you an example of doing it with 16th notes. And again, we have to have the facility with some of our limbs to keep that lineup solid. Doesn't matter that your leg is going, hey man, this is too quick, I don't feel like doing it. Tough. You got to do it. It's got to line up, it's got to be spot on. Let me give you an example with maybe 16ths on the kick drum. So it'll look like this. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and a 1. The reason that I'm demonstrating that is because that you can see even during flurries of notes like that, as 16th notes on the bass drum or something, I'm still focused on things lining up. Okay, so try that exercise. You can do it in 1 bar exercises or 2 bars, where you play a full bar, beat, 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 line up, 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 bop, boom, boom, bop, and then line up for a whole other measure. You can do an 8th notes, triplets. You need to do it in all the different subdivisions and get through all of them and really spend some time doing it. It's really important. The other key, and let me demonstrate really quick, is that the interworkings of some of these beats, you have to focus on the lineups as well. So let me just play something that has a real 4-limb pattern to it, and let's talk about it really quick. So 1, 2, demonstrate this. At my right hand and my left hand. 1 E and that's the E and that 1 E and that's the E and that 1. Making sure that hi-hat foot note lines up with the ride. Making sure that bass note lines up with the snare drum. That little demonstration really shows you how you can get in the weeds with some of this stuff if you're not paying attention to it. The left foot, my hi-hat foot lining up with the upbeat on that ride. The on that kick drum pattern, lining up with that ghost note in that ghosting pattern on the snare. All those little things need to happen. They need to be really tight, and you should just burn by and sound very articulate and just be in the pocket. So this is the focus of it. So right now I'm going to demonstrate playing some 16th note figures. I'll go ahead and perform some 16th note figures around the drum so you can take a look at me focusing on that and really working on doing that. I'll start off by playing our exercise first. So here's a performance of lining up 16th notes around the drums. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a